Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a massive, honestly, kind of mind-boggling economic mystery, the case of the missing houses. Over the last couple of years, the typical hustle and bustle of buying and selling homes just ground to an absolute halt. So we're going to unpack exactly why that happened and what it really means for the future of real estate. So, why exactly did the US housing market just freeze? I mean, if you look at historical economic models, recent interest rate hikes should have caused a pretty predictable, moderate drop in home sales. Economists have tons of historical data that usually tells them exactly how much a rate hike will cool demand. But the actual data? It revealed this wild anomaly that caught literally everyone off guard. The market didn't just cool down, it went into a deep freeze. Which brings us to Section 1, the missing housing inventory. As active listings plummeted and usually bustling neighborhoods went completely quiet, a huge question popped up for economists and totally frustrated homebuyers alike. Where on earth did all the houses go? It was literally as if millions of for sale signs just evaporated overnight. You see, today's housing market is missing the usual release valves we've seen in past economic cycles. This means when existing homes vanish from the market, there just isn't enough new construction to fill the gap. And for the average buyer, that's just devastating. Without new homes to balance things out, the few existing houses left become targets for intense, highly competitive bidding wars. It's locking everyday people right out of home ownership. And the sheer scale of this shock to the system is absolutely staggering. To put it into perspective, researchers from the Federal Reserve, specifically economist Elliot Annenberg and Daniel Ringo, noted that historically, a 3 percentage point increase in mortgage rates predicts an 18% drop in sales. Okay, makes sense. But look at reality. Sales actually plunged by an astonishing 36%. That drop is exactly double what all the historical patterns predicted. Double! So, what's the culprit? Let's look at Section 2, the golden handcuffs. In the economics world, we call the root cause of this missing inventory the mortgage lock-in effect, or more casually, the golden handcuffs. Simply put, this is the intense financial disincentive that homeowners face when they even think about selling, purely because their current mortgage rate is significantly lower than today's prevailing market rates. I mean, if you locked in a rock-bottom rate during the pandemic, moving means you're throwing away the deal of a lifetime. And when you look at the entire population, the proportions are just staggering. Millions of homeowners secured sub 3% and 4% rates during that massive pandemic refinancing boom. Just think about this. Nearly 14 million borrowers refinanced in 2021 alone. Fast forward to today, and roughly 80% of all mortgage holders are sitting safely below a 6% rate. And a full 20%, they're enjoying rates below 3%. Because of this, they are simply and understandably refusing to sell. Let's break down exactly why in Section 3. The brutal mortgage math. To really grasp the psychology of why these homeowners are staying put, we have to look past the percentages and look at the brutal dollars and cents math driving this whole gridlock. Let's take a family with a median $450,000 loan. If they trade their 3% pandemic-era rate for a 6% modern rate, their monthly payments skyrockets by over $800. That is adding nearly $10,000 a year just in interest payments alone. Spread that over a 30-year loan, and you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra costs for the exact same loan amount. It's wild. But the absolute most crucial point really comes down to one number. $50,000. Research from Wharton professor Lou Liu shows that holding onto one of these below-market mortgage rates provides an estimated average of $50,000 in lifetime expected savings on payments. So when you realize that low rate is essentially a $50,000 financial asset just embedded right into the home loan, well, making a move becomes completely financially irrational for most people. And this leads us to Section 4, collateral market damage. Because you see, this individual financial bind ripples outward, creating a two-tier housing market. It sparks this stark, deeply frustrating inequality between the haves and the have-nots. The haves are comfortably chilling on cheap debt and massive equity gains, but the have-nots, who are very often young renters or first-time buyers just trying to get their start, are left in a truly demoralizing position. They're out there struggling to afford heavily inflated home prices while simultaneously facing borrowing costs that are roughly double what the locked-in homeowners are paying. This artificially restricted supply is doing real damage. According to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, it prevented an estimated 1.72 million home sales. Because so many homes were just kept off the market, it actually inflated national home prices by an additional 7%. And honestly, the collateral damage goes way beyond just housing. It's actively freezing labor mobility. People are literally turning down incredible career promotions or their absolute dream jobs in new cities purely because they cannot afford to forfeit their current mortgage rates. The housing market has effectively trapped them in place. But is there a way out? Let's talk about it in Section 5, Escaping the Lock-in. Now, despite this intense gridlock, life obviously goes on. People still have to move for growing families, retirement, or those unavoidable job relocations. Fortunately, there are some strategic ways to break the chains. First up, you can leverage massive equity gains. Since home prices have surged so much, a lot of people can use their newfound equity to make a huge down payment, which significantly lowers their new loan size. Second, you can renovate instead of relocate. Just upgrade your current space while keeping that sweet rate. Third, you could explore assumable FHA or VA mortgages. This is actually an incredible loophole where a buyer can take over the seller's original low mortgage rate instead of applying for a new one at today's high rates. Or fourth, you can convert your current home into a rental, preserving that low-rate mortgage as a really powerful income-generating asset. And there really are signs of a cautious thaw happening right now. As one industry expert quipped, maybe we've been in a recession and now we're landing softly on our tennis shoes. I love that. With rates stabilizing near 6% and the share of higher rate mortgages gradually growing within the market, experts are maintaining a cautious optimism. The gap between what people have and what the market is offering is finally narrowing, which means the housing market is slowly but surely beginning to recover. As this market slowly thaws out, it leaves us with one final, deeply personal question to consider. If the absolute perfect opportunity arose tomorrow, would you unlock the golden handcuffs for your dream home? Or is the math just simply too brutal to ignore? It's a tough question, and it's one that millions of homeowners are wrestling with right at this very moment. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating economic puzzle, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.